Hello and welcome. I'm Wendy Strothman, Executive Vice President and Publisher of Trade and Reference Books for Houghton Mifflin Company. To commemorate the much-anticipated motion picture premiere of The Fellowship of the Ring, we are publishing two exciting new books, The Lord of the Rings Official Movie Guide and The Fellowship of the Ring Visual Companion. And what better way to mark the occasion than with an exclusive preview of the making of the movie? But first, I'd like to introduce you to a very special person.
Rayner Unwin, Tolkien's lifelong friend, was just 10 years old when his father asked him to read a manuscript called The Hobbit.
My father was the publisher, and he believed that children were the best judges of children's books. And he used to pay me, as a supplement to my pocket money, a shilling, which was good money in those days, for my written report. The Hobbit came along in 1935, along with other books, and I wrote my report. Bilbo Baggins was a hobbit who lived in his hobbit hole and never went for adventures. At last, Gandalf the wizard and his dwarves persuaded him to go. He had a very exciting time fighting goblins and wargs. At last, they get to the Lonely Mountain. Smaug the dragon who guards it is killed, and after a terrific battle with the goblins, he returned home rich. This book, with the help of maps, does not need any illustrations. It is good and should appeal to all children between the ages of 5 and 9. It wasn't a great piece of literary criticism, but in those happy days, no second opinion was needed. If I said it was good enough to publish, it was published. I didn't meet him, actually, until many years later. I was at Oxford doing a naval short course, and Tolkien, who was an Oxford Don, a professor, invited me to his house and gave me a rather austere wartime tea. When I got into publishing in 1951, I got hold of the manuscript complete of The Lord of the Rings, and I knew that we got to make a decision of some sort. So I went right to my father to say that these were the figures, roughly, and I thought we might lose £1,000. And my father wrote back one of those rather wise things that you remember afterwards. And he said, if, underlined, you believe this to be a work of genius, then, underlined, you may lose £1,000. And so we went ahead. The only contribution I can claim to make to The Lord of the Rings is that I caused it to be divided into 3 parts. Tolkien hated the idea, but he accepted it in the end as necessary because, as we all know, it is a very long book. Tolkien was a very loyal man, and if he trusted you completely. And we got on fine, because in a sense, I think, he felt that I understood him from way back when I was 10 years old. I've never seen anything quite like The Lord of the Rings. It'd be extraordinary if I had, because it really is a unique thing, and I still think that it is a work of genius.
We all owe a debt of gratitude to Rayner Unwin, who passed away shortly after taping this interview. Now it's time for an exclusive first look at the most anticipated film of all time, The Lord of the Rings. They said it could never be done. The story was too big, the world too vast. It would be too dangerous and too difficult. But then, similar things were said when Frodo and Sam set off for Mordor.
I first read the books when I was about 18, and my first thought at that time was, gosh, I can't wait till somebody makes a movie of this. So I sort of waited for 20-odd years.
On October 11th, 1999, Peter Jackson had to wait no longer. This was the first day of principal photography for New Line Cinema's trilogy of movies, The Lord of the Rings. It would be the most expensive and challenging film project in history.
Nobody's ever shot 3 huge movies in a row before, and I think the most interesting thing I've discovered over the last 14 months is exactly why nobody's ever done that. Now I know.
I remember the moment where I heard they were going to make a film of The Lord of the Rings. I was astonished because I thought, how can they do it?
Author Brian Sibley had the daunting challenge of chronicling the monumental project.
And then I met the people who were making it. And as I met them and as I talked to them, I discovered that they cared about the book in the same way that I did, and that their commitment was to make a film that really reflected Tolkien's world.
There's an incredible passion behind this project, which I don't think I've ever witnessed to this extent on any film I've ever had the privilege to work on, because people have come with such love of the stories, and you can feel that in the crew, you can feel it with the actors, that it's something that they know it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
The design of Middle-earth was key. During scripting, Peter Jackson and his writing partner Fran Walsh utilized the centenary edition of The Lord of the Rings, which features 50 paintings by Alan Lee.
Alan's paintings captured the bittersweet mood of Lord of the Rings. And when the film started to become a reality, the question of trying to find Alan Lee wherever he was in the world and seeing if he wanted to be involved became very important to us.
Peter found Alan in the village of Dartmoor, England, and lured him to New Zealand.
It was estimated originally that I'd be out here for between 12 and 20 weeks. But that was 2.5 years ago. And
Peter also brought on renowned Tolkien illustrator John Howe.
John's artwork tends to be like a freeze frame from a film. He's very good at capturing action right at an exciting moment. And so we thought that the talents of both Alan and John combined would give us basically everything that we needed.
Peter deemed the design of Houghton to be especially crucial, as the audience must understand what Frodo is willing to risk his life to protect. When he went out to scout the location, Peter brought Alan and John along.
I said that, look, one of the things that's essential with Hobbiton is that this place has to look like hobbits have lived here for hundreds of years. It's very hard to visualize that if you're just looking at an empty field. So one of the things that Alan and John did is they'd sit down on this farmer's land with a notepad, and they would sketch the landscape that they were looking at, except they would sketch it as Hobbiton.
Lord of the Rings is a fairy tale. It's an adventure story. It never happened, except somewhere in our hearts. And yet, there was Hobbiton in 3 dimensions and smoke coming out of the holes where they live underground. And I believed.
Houghton Mifflin's director of Tolkien projects is Clay Harper.
The locations of Middle-earth are stunningly beautiful or frightening, as the case may be. They're at least as important as the characters.
Each of the film's major locations is featured in the Fellowship of the Ring visual companion.
My favorite location is Rivendell. The vision of it presented in the film just surpassed my wildest imaginings.
For inspiration, Alan Lee decided to design Rivendell not in his office, but in the forest where it would be built.
it was a lovely experience, actually, just being there in this very beautiful environment and trying to think like an elf. We wanted to make the buildings kind of fit around the trees so that we wouldn't actually have to have too much of an impact on the landscape, as the elves would have done.
Alan could often be seen making last-minute touch-ups on set just before the cameras rolled. Alan Lee and John Howe's artwork set the tone, but the true birthplace of Middle-earth was Weta Workshop, headed by Peter Jackson's longtime collaborator, Richard Taylor.
I was very aware that we had to create an expansive world, something that would spread beyond the four corners of the movie screen, the feeling that there's cultures that are strapped with thousands of years of involvement and creativity and integrity from the people and the species of Middle-earth.
Weta's incredible attention to detail is vividly illustrated by the weapons and armor of Middle-earth.
Pick up a weapon. My own happened to be outrageously beautiful, but any of those, anything around you that you see, the detail, is just fantastic. It's mind-blowing. You just can't help but marvel at the time and energy and love that's been put into all of it.
One of the biggest and most enjoyable challenges for Weta was creation of Middle-earth's most hideous race, the orcs.
Almost every sculptor at Weta ended up doing 10 or so orcs, and through that we ended up getting quite a motley bunch of them.
This is a fantasy film. It's got creatures, it's got monsters, it's got strange beings, it's got wizards, and it's got small, hairy-footed hobbits in it. But that, for Peter, was not the overriding important thing about the story. The important thing was that this was a story which seemed to have within it a sense of reality. He said to me again and again, there is in the book a sense that you're reading something which isn't fantasy, but which is history. And that's what Peter wanted to put on film. And I really think he's done it.
The finest rockets ever seen. They burst in stars of blue and green.
Okay. It was great, Joanna. It was great, Donna. It was good. That was excellent. Let's put in that one. Let's do one more. This one just vocal length for luck. I think of Lord of the Rings as being a very, very personal, emotional story. The note that we have given every single actor that's come on board the film, no matter what race they're playing, we are trying to make them feel genuine to what they care about and to what they feel.
We're recreating a vision of an amazing fantasy writer, J.R.R. Tolkien's vision. A world that he created that, unlike other fantasy novels, it seemed like a history. You feel as if it could have actually existed.
We do not know who else may be watching. I think I've become known as the person who always has the book to hand and can prove my point by saying, this is what Tolkien says. And whenever there's a discussion about where a line should go or a scene should go, the clinching thing is, well, it's in Tolkien.
It is a sort of ironic question. 1, 2, 3, 4. And good. Good. Harry, pull him over. Good. That's it.
Cast members arrived in New Zealand 3 months before filming to prepare themselves mentally and physically.
Oh, look at that. That is right in the middle of that middle. Now that is some archery. That's Legolas's full action going down.
The intense training prepared the cast for the physical demands of the year-and-a-half filming schedule, taking them to many of New Zealand's most spectacular and remote locations.
We've been like half-hour helicopter rides to places, way, way up, way above the tree line, on ice and snow and forest. If you're on the top of a mountain or on a river and the wind's howling, you can't replace the way that looks and the way it feels, too.
After living the Lord of the Rings for so long, the cast and crew see a parallel between their quest and that of the Fellowship.
Lord of the Rings is about a journey, about a fellowship going on the pursuit of a single ideal, and the creation of this film has become a journey for its creators to no less extent. The hours that have to go into a project like this, the emotional highs and lows, it's quite incredible when you look back what has happened to people's lives.
One of the little exercises I do to avoid letting my tiredness and enormity of the job sort of overwhelm me is I stop every now and again and say, well, is there anything else in the world I would rather be doing right now than making Lord of the Rings into a film? And obviously the answer is no. This is exactly what I'm doing, what I would love to do.
Gandalf?
Bilbo Baggins.
Dear Gandalf.
Good to see you.
J.R.R. Tolkien was very aware that he'd created a world that existed within his books, but he also said that it was a world that could be enhanced by other people, with paint, with music, with drama. And that is, I think, what Peter Jackson has done. Tolkien created a myth, a modern myth. And what has happened is that by turning this into a film, a filmmaker has given it a new dimension, has taken that myth one stage further, which is how myths are born, how they are carried through generation after generation. So in a way, I see Peter Jackson as part of the mythic process, which was begun by Tolkien when he first wrote the first line of that book.